The Department of Education has maintained a National Education Technology Plan for improving upon the American school system since 1994, advocating for the adoption of educational technologies, also known as EdTech. And while previously schools struggled to relevantly incorporate EdTech into their ecosystem, motivated by the effects of COVID-19 and quarantine, schools finally began bringing devices into the educational curriculum. While this has provided educators and students with access to valuable tools for learning, the problem is that there is a lack of understanding on how to use them most effectively. This can be seen in how 84% of students in grades 6 through 12, surveyed in the Project Tomorrow Speak Up survey, reported that the primary way they use this technology is just for online tests and quizzes. This passive use of EdTech squanders the value of the investment and doesn't challenge students to think critically. This is why I'd like to propose a solution. Utilizing the transformative powers of data and AI, we can introduce a virtual teaching assistant, or coach, built around the principles of universal design for learning that intuitively offers active benefits to all parties involved. But before we dive into how this coach will achieve this, we should first address, why does EdTech even matter? To begin, what even is EdTech exactly? EdTech refers to the technologies that schools invest in to assist in teaching and learning. This ranges across a wide variety of technologies, such as smartboards, video players, computer labs, personal computers and Chromebooks, and even software like Kahoot and Blackboard. EdTech covers a wide range of uses and niches, but they can be loosely organized into two groups: technology for active and passive applications. Active applications for technology make use of it in a way that requires critical thinking. Some examples include educational games and simulations. Passive applications, however, are when technology is used in ways that don't require any reflection or imagination, such as simply filling out digital worksheets or consuming digital media without any form of student interaction. While passive technology integration does come with the benefit of streamlining analog processes, it lacks the ability to stimulate students' minds in a way that active uses will. The reason there is such a predominance of passive uses in schools is due to other sub-problems that play into this hesitancy to apply technology actively. These are barriers such as difficulty funding the investment into these technologies, a lack of training for teachers and students around how to use them, and minimal time to change their curriculum to effectively integrate the technology. The last two problems are of particular importance, especially now that schools have invested heavily into personal devices for each student. The lack of training and time to integrate these technologies means that many classrooms just use the technology in passive ways that don't inspire student reflection. This is a problem, because by not taking advantage of the active benefits technology has to offer, schools continue to perpetuate long-standing problems in education that we now have the resources to fix. The four subjects that this project aims to address are the difference of student learning speeds, the difference of student learning styles, student disengagement, and the lack of one-on-one opportunity between students and teachers. By actively using EdTech, however, student engagement, understanding, and one-on-one interactions with teachers can be improved. This is where Coach comes in. So now we can come back to the earlier questions. What is Coach, and what does it do? Coach is a UDL assistant for administering the theory and comprehension assessment for students. Let's unpack that a bit. Universal Design for Learning, or UDL, is a set of principles that engages in the idea of how to address the needs of all students, acknowledging that each student is their own person, with their own unique skills and challenges. It lays out 3 directives for using technology to actively benefit students. First is multiple means of representation, which acknowledges that not all students will learn the same way, and may require different resources in order to study the same topic. The second is multiple means of expression, that being that students will have different ways of presenting the same topic based on their lens that they perceive things through. Finally, multiple means of engagement highlights that students will have different preferred ways of interacting with the subject. Coach is a lightweight application that can be installed on any device and helps teachers practice UDL principles in their lectures and assessments. In order to make it intuitive and eliminate training needed to use it, Coach can be interacted, or interfaced, within ways that are very similar to existing standard tools. For a teacher to integrate it into their lesson, they would use Coach the same way as they would a slideshow building software. They would put together their lesson plan and slide deck in the easy-to-use interface, and Coach behind the scenes would break down the slide deck as an input to understand what the course unit and pace of the lecture is. Additionally, If the teacher already has a slide deck prepared, they can just upload it to the platform and it will handle that too. Then, when it comes time to present the unit, the teacher provides a brief introduction to the subject through a group activity or demonstration, before handing the reins over to Coach. Students can then open Coach on their personal device, and it will begin presenting the lecture to each student. The student will see the presentation as the teacher prepared, and Coach will talk to the student following the slides and drawing from its training on a large database of scholarly material. If the lecture is too fast, the student can communicate with Coach, and it will slow down or backtrack to further discuss confusing ideas. If it's too slow, because the student grasps the content faster than expected, Coach can provide additional material that relates to the subject or to future units to keep the student engaged in learning. If the student has a need for accessibility features, Coach can easily toggle on closed captions, produce images, and assist in any other way the student needs. And if the entire lecture-based format is just not how that student learns, they can let Coach know, and rooting through its database, or with pre-recommendations from the teacher, Coach can entirely shift gears and present through different teaching styles. Maybe it incorporates more text snippets for those who prefer to read, or maybe it pulls up videos and imagery for those who are more visual-based learners. Or for hands-on learners or the students who are just entirely disengaged by the subject, Coach can access educational games and simulations that the student can work with to learn from. All the while, this has freed up the teacher to walk around the classroom and check in with each student, one-on-one, to form a deeper, personal connection with them and learn more about their strengths, weaknesses, and goals. This gives the teacher the chance to achieve their full potential and become a mentor and advisor to the students with this newly available time. Then, the teacher can break the students away from the theory portion that Coach provided and bring the class back together again for the practice portion. When it comes time for students to present their comprehension, Coach can assist here too. By considering what areas the students struggled with during lectures and previous assessments, Coach can tailor its examination points for each student. The student can then choose to be assessed through simulations, standard multiple choice or open-ended test questions, or even use more creative means that demonstrate they understand the subject. For assessments that don't need to be finished within one class, such as longer projects, the student could potentially make and submit a video, a presentation, comic, essay, or many other different forms of media that engage them to create, and Coach can watch it and assess for the skills and topic accuracy that it instructed the student to respond to. And as Coach is an AI and not a human, it's able to perform the impossible task of providing a different instance of itself to do all of the above for every single student simultaneously. Using the information that it gains from students' questions, assessment results, and preferences for learning and expression, Coach can also learn to tune future lectures to the students' interests, and can even call back on earlier subjects and connect them to the current unit for a sense of continuity. Since Coach is helping the teacher by handling the comprehension assessment and grading, the teacher now has the time to build practice plans to complement the lectures and give students a chance to reinforce the learning immediately after each lecture. This creates a supportive ecosystem, optimizing the experience for everyone involved. Coach helps the teacher by splitting up the roles of lecturer and practitioner that teachers currently have to do all on their own. It takes the role of lecturer, which is a job that requires nuances and reach that only an AI has in order to effectively lecture to dozens of students at a time. In turn, this lets the teacher adopt the role of practitioner to assist students in hands-on activities and form connections with them in a way that only a human can. And from all of this, the student is being provided the resources to succeed both in school and their future lives. This is also just the tip of the iceberg in terms of things that Coach can help with. For example, to create a collective learning experience, a student can choose to publicly or anonymously ask questions to Coach that will be answered in a universal chat log where all their students can see, helping them realize questions they hadn't thought of. Though, of course, the student can also choose to ask their question privately, too. Another possibility is using the massive anonymized aggregate of student question and test performance data to gauge where a class, school, or the entire user base may find certain subjects difficult, or whether what they've been taught has actually been relevant to them in later lessons or even courses. By having Coach in the classroom, 4 major problems in education can finally be solved. The broad customizability of software and the instancing of AI allows for Coach to provide individualized lectures and assessments for students who learn at different speeds and have different learning styles. Additionally, the ability to provide games and simulations can keep students engaged if they otherwise would be disinterested in the subject. Finally, with Coach taking the time as the lecturer and vehicle for information transfer, the teacher has been given the chance to provide one-on-one support and mentorship for each of the students. On top of solving these four problems, Coach also viably addresses the aforementioned barriers to active technology use. It doesn't require a large financial investment because it's an application that can be installed on the devices that most schools already provide to each student. It requires minimal training because it interfaces like technologies that already exist in academia. And it not only doesn't require extra time to integrate into the curriculum, but will also save the teacher time in their daily lesson plans. An exciting part about developing this technology is that it's not a distant mega project. All of the capabilities it will have already exist in other applications today. We just need to direct them towards education. Gemini 1.5 and GPT-4 Pro are large language model AI capable of receiving text, video, audio, and image files as input, and interpreting the content inside. Utilizing technology like this, Coach will be able to accept slide decks from the teacher, or any form of assignment or exam submission from the student, and understand what it's looking at. Another example where large language models shine, in their vast training databases, they are able to effectively disseminate information on a wide variety of topics. This will be how Coach is able to discuss the subject of the teacher's slides to the students, and how it will be able to answer questions on it, even if the teacher didn't tell it how to answer, or how to expand on the brief notations written on each slide. Text-to-speech, like PlayHT and Natural Reader, are effective early-stage examples of where text-to-speech technology currently is, and it will continue to get better as machine learning models advance. Programs like this will give Coach a voice to present lectures and to answer questions. Multimedia platforms that can toggle between different forms of media are commonplace today, and are able to easily provide access to many types of information based on the user's interest. Khan Academy, for example, incorporates videos, simulations, and text for a wide variety of learning needs. The back end of the Coach application can have access to a large database of videos, audio, and simulations or games for students to interact with while they learn, allowing for easy customization of each student's learning needs. Finally, utilizing current analytic algorithms, large spreads of data can be used to compare student performance to the average school performance, identify the specific areas of struggle and achievement for students, and identify learning preferences. This would allow for tailoring lectures and assessments to